recorded. This is the Red Ticket Blues podcast. I am Brian Buckley. This is being recorded on April 11th to hit the internets on April 12th. How's everybody doing? Is it too cold for you? It's too cold for baseball. Let's repeat it over and over again because, we've never seen snow in April before. Remember, you can always listen to the show on iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, YouTube, and follow me on Twitter at BrianBuck13 and at Red Ticket Blues. So, as I already mentioned, everyone's complaining about the weather. April's a wild card.
Wild card, bitches!
Yes, bitches, we know sometimes it can snow. There's cold weather involved. I don't know why people are so confused. I think, you know what it is? I think because it's at the same weekend as the Masters. So we're seeing how beautiful it is, how tranquil, the sunshine, the green fairway, everything. And then we look at it and see the Yankees are playing in Detroit and there's snow. April, it happens, man. This isn't the first time there's been snow at a baseball game in April. So just everyone relax. Speaking of the Masters, I have tried over the years. I really have tried to get into golf, playing it, watching it. I can't do it. I don't think I can do it. I really don't. Some people sit there all day, like my father. They'll sit there and watch golf all day. I didn't even think about the Masters this weekend. My entire viewing of the Masters was through Vines on Twitter. And, I just got a set of hand-me-down clubs a few years ago. I didn't even play it all last summer. I picked up golf late. I was in my 30s. It's just like how I picked up smoking. I picked it up at 23. I should have picked up both at like 13, Let's go hit a few back nine. Let's go geometry. I don't smoke anymore, though, thankfully. It's a disgusting habit. Oh, yeah, I'm sure all the smokers out here love being browbeaten by sanctimonious ex-smokers. You shouldn't do it. It's not good for you. Secondhand smoke kills. It's disgusting. It's really bad for you. Here's a pamphlet. But I don't know what to do with golf. I don't think I can ever get into it. I'm lying to myself. I think it's cool when they hit big shots or there's drama at the end. But I guess there was drama at the end yesterday. I didn't even give a shit. So, anyways, baseball has started. How's everybody doing outside of that weather? Is it good? It's April. So, we see snow. We're still looking forward. Baseball is here. Like I said, there's some good things, right? That's good. Makes life a little easier going into that cubicle every day, right? Yeah, maybe. Maybe not. Yeah, okay. So let's get into some baseball real quick. The New York Yankees, what's their record at? I forget. They've the pitching has been the hitting has been well. The best pitcher to get out of 5 innings is CC Sabathia this first week. Yes, CC Sabathia, the guy who we didn't know, where I talked to Ken Davidoff of the New York Post last week. We weren't sure if he's, if he'd even be. The only reason he's in the starting rotation is because his name is CC Sabathia and he's earning $25 million. So the Yankees, their hitting has been on fire. Some guys have really produced. Hey, A-Rod had a home run the other day. I don't know how much else he's doing. Carlos Beltran's looked good. Teixeira's had a few home runs. And, of course, Darlin Starlin, which is one of the weakest John Sterling calls ever. I hope he really does something there. Sterling, and I'm a guy who, I know some people have gotten tired of the shtick years ago of Sterling. And, I'm sort of in the middle. I always thought, it gets a little, some days I'm just like, I'm not in the mood. Other days, sitting on the porch, having a beer, and he says something stupid, and you're like, classic. He's getting, listen, and you forget, he's 78 years old. John Sterling is 78 years old. And it's getting rough this year. There's a lot of mistakes, and I don't mean to nitpick, but it's difficult listening to a game sometimes saying, what did that mean? What is he talking about? I'd like to hear what happened. There's just silence. It's not even getting the calls wrong. There's just silence. Back to the wall, and he called Susan. No, it's gone. No, it's gone. Come on, man. Really? Get him a bigger monitor or thicker glasses, something. But the Yankees are 3-2 right now. Did the Red Sox win today? I know David Price's debut at Fenway was, they lost, but Kimbrel got the loss. Oh, gave up 3. He struck out 8, though, Price, huh? Just reading the box score, doing the podcast, you know how that is. But so far, you have to be happy with what the Yankees are giving you. The bullpen, a little bit, but there's a lot of controversy with that one game where Betances sort of blew it and Carlos Correa running up the line, but that's long gone, old history at this point. They're looking good. The offense is clicking. The pitching, you'd wish they could pitch a little longer. You had Severino, Evaldi, and Pineda didn't pitch well. Tanaka and Severino were Severino gave up a lot of hits, but only 3 runs. But none of them, like I said, outside of CeCe Sabathia, were able to get out of the 5th inning. Into the 6th inning. That's, I know we're talking all about this bullpen, this dynamic bullpen that can't be beaten, and they'll set records and yada, 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 but you still need, especially now with, I don't know, Miller, he can pitch, fine, all right. Chapman isn't there. Betances didn't look great. You just need more length on it, guys. And maybe it's the weather. Maybe it's beginning. It's like, calm down. We got to get these guys loose. And what the hell is spring training for? What the hell do I know? Brian, you're a manager. Well, Joe will tell you. Sevy and Tanaxter and CC and... What does he call it? Does he call Michael... Does he say... He must say Big Mike or something, right? He didn't say Peony, right? Peony. I'm the only one laughing at that. The Mets... the Mets pitching has been great. Outside of Harvey the other day, which wasn't that great. He's 0-2. Still, I mean, he didn't pitch terrible that first game, but their hitting has been atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. I saw Cespedes got a home run the other day. David Wright, he must have been listening to the podcast with David off, and I had him basically in the casket, and we were nailing him down, like a crucifix. Okay, but he's actually has, I think, the highest batting average on the team right now at 267 as we speak. On that game's just getting started, so that average will most likely change. They are playing the Miami Marlins. Steven Matt's on the mound. Why am I doing any of this? This is all going to be old news by the time you hear it. But the Mets, you can't be losing games to Philadelphia. Those are those gimme wins that you got to take care of business. Jacob deGrom just had the baby. He didn't have the baby. His wife did. Would have been miraculous if he were able to do it. He's also having back issues. We know the deal. The main thing is that offense has got to step up. Granderson's been atrocious. Atrocious. I mean, at this time of this recording, he's batting not even $150. He's batting 50. .050. And yeah, David Wright, 267. The rest of the guys all in the 200s outside of Darno, who's not much better than Granderson at 0.83. But it's early. Those batting averages are always going to look crazy in the beginning of the season. So you got to give it time. It's been 1 week. Let's not go nuts, but it's not good losing 2 games to the Philadelphia Phillies. They are a bad baseball team. They're over-under, and they lost to the Padres today. They have 2 wins this year against the Mets. They're 2-5. But, their over-unders was in the 60s. So they're predicted to lose perhaps 100 games. So you got to beat teams like that. But again, let's repeat the old song and dance. It is April. It is April. But speaking of exaggerated numbers and things you just don't expect to see, how about this story outside of Colorado? How about those delicious puns with a last name like Story? Oh, what a story to read, huh? Long lost story, a story to tell. What else? Fairy tale story. This is the story of the year. Trevor Story, the Colorado Rockies. I think for you younger listeners may not remember Tuffy Rhodes, the Chicago Cubs, on opening day way back when. I think it was 94, and he came in and what did he do? Oh, I'm sorry. I think he hit 3 home runs on opening day. Became the first player to ever do that. Became the first National League player to hit 3 home runs on opening day when he connected off Dwight Gooden. So it was a long time. 93, And he was all the rage. I remember. I remember I had a poster of him, an ESPN propaganda poster, to put on my wall, and that was one of the things that baseball was so great. And then we never saw him again. He left very, very soon after that out of baseball. That was 93. Oh, so he wasn't a rookie. Yeah, so this isn't the same. He played for 3 years with Houston. But anyways, you know what I mean. Tuffy Rhodes is the all-time leader in Nippon professional baseball in Japan in home runs. And he's tied for 11th overall in all of Japan because there's separate things there. Anyways, let's get to Trevor Story. He's hit, 7 home runs in his first 6 games. Now, I went to look up, see if I can find any information about this guy. Anything that, he's somehow related to some nuclear physicist that dated Marilyn Monroe 30 years ago. Something along those lines. I can't find anything. But Trevor Story he's having an amazing beginning of the season. Like I said, now some of his clothing, some of his things have been already sent to the Hall of Fame, but he refuses to give up that bat. And Makes perfect sense. Yeah, 23 years old, Irving, Texas, 7 home runs in that freaking career, 368 with 12 RBIs. And I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon because he plays the shortstop. And Jose Reyes, who knows how long he is going to be suspended for because of his domestic violence issue. I don't know if they've officially dropped that case because his wife isn't cooperating, which makes sense because money. I know they talked about it. I don't know if I ever got official. I don't know if they contacted me, Sporting News, WFAN, and Major League Baseball. If they contacted me to let me know that it was finally dismissed or whatever the case may be. But how about that? That is some story. Trevor Story. Boy, it's just fantastic. I mean, you could just do so many things with it. I mean, if you write headlines, if that's your thing at a paper, boy, that Trevor Story, that's like Christmas to you. Having a guy named Trevor Story who's just amazing. Just amazing. So let's move on here. I guess the Yankees, this was opening day too, so I'm going backwards, but apparently people were upset on Yankee opening day that they had to walk to the StubHub office, which is pretty obvious you're going to have to. It was quite well known that StubHub, and I mean, it was a pretty big story. The Yankees and StubHub weren't doing business, so, I mean, you're going to a bar for a special kind of beer that you know they don't have, and then bitching and moaning that you have to walk to the other bar. It doesn't make any sense to me, so I think it's people just complaining for the sake of complaining, and it was frigid out, so that might have something to do with it. What I also want to get into was our friend Bryce Harper, who will probably be a Yankee this year. Not this year, 2018, or after the 2018 season. I'm just throwing out dates, confusing you. All right, got it. Now, I mean, it's known that he wants to be a Yankee, so that's more than likely. I think most fans are probably happy about it. Some are not. He does have an attitude issue. And Bill Maher, talking about a guy with an attitude issue, has come out criticizing young Bryce Harper. Why? Well, I guess he feels he's a bit arrogant. Very arrogant, quote. And, by the way, how about Pablo Sandoval, huh? How about that belt? R.I.P. Pablo Sandoval's belt. What a slob. My God. How can a professional athlete with so many resources to, treat your body like the most amazing temple you have ever seen, a spectacular temple that has no flaws, no chinks in the armor, how can you be that fat and that disinterested? God. That's the kind of stuff that really turns people off from sports when they see stuff. That's why the terrorists want to beat us. He said, Bill Maher, who, listen, I am not a fan of Bill Maher. I find him to be, I don't want to say offensive, but there are things that he gets away with, I believe. Because let's be honest, not to get too political. The media is very, very liberal. We understand that. And Bill Maher is very, very liberal. He says some really offensive things, some real nasty things about people. Stuff, I mean, he's not on the level of Ann Coulter or something like that, but he says some pretty terrible things, and I think because he has the, liberal take, they're not as exposed as much. Listen, he's taking his lumps, don't get me wrong. And he took him here, too. He called Bryce Harper, a man who almost won the Triple Crown last year in the National League, a very arrogant douchebag. So, I suggest Bill Maher invest in a very large mirror, because I think he'd see himself in there, and maybe he'd see something. And why did he go after this? Well, let's hear. There are villains and there are villains, he said on WR Radio in New York. Just something about him that's very arrogant. And of course, that's important when you're facing a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. You have to have that. But some guys, the confidence, which is the element we're seeking, tips over into a kind of unattractive quality, like Real Time with Bill Maher on HBO. There are two ways to look at him. The first is something like, whoa. Oh, no, excuse me. He didn't say that. I was going to... He just said, I'm not a Bryce Harper fan. There were a couple of words that I really can't say on public radio I think apply to him. And it's not surprising to me that he's flirting with Donald Trump's candidacy. Now, what that means is Bryce Harper was wearing a hat that said, make baseball fun again. He is a very large proponent of bat flips, of celebrating, of yakking it up. If you listen to the podcast with me, you know I'm really not, and I think it needs to be done in moderation. I don't think it just needs to be done for the hell of it. But he's wearing that hat, and to make himself be talked about, be aware, and he's achieved that. I'm sitting here talking about it. Bill Maher, has to go after him and say he's a douchebag. I just don't like him. I don't know how often Bill Maher talks about sports on his show. I know he is a sports fan. He's a minority owner of the New York Mets. But of course, if he was a Met, I'd love him, Maher said. I could learn to love Bryce Harper. Oh, well, that's good, because I was concerned. Let's put it this way. In a few more years, Bryce Harper, I think, will mature. When you're that good and you're that young, you're going to be a dick. Well, then what is he upset about if he knows that's the name of the game? I just talk about the pot calling the kettle black. Welcome. I know it's an older story, but when you do a weekly podcast, you got to come through. And by the way, I didn't even mention the NCAA final because it does seem like forever ago. But Villanova, what a great game. What a great game overall. I mean, and the saddest thing is Marcus Page's shot, that twisting, turning three-pointer, will just be a footnote going forward. No one will remember it unless they listen to this podcast ad nauseum over and over again. They go, oh yeah, Marcus Page's shot. That's right, Brian talked about it. For Chris Jenkins, boom, I don't think life can get any better than that, man. I'm sorry. Hope you enjoyed it. And I'm not saying because I'm jealous, but I certainly am jealous of it. Who wouldn't want to be in his position right there? But that is the mountaintop right there. A buzzer beater for the national championship. That's and you know, they have like tons of feeds of the game too. And I was listening to one with Dick Vitale, and we all know he is pro ACC coming out of his rear end. He was with Sean McDonough, and Sean McDonough's going crazy, and then they sort of just let it play out, let the crowd noise take over, which is good. I like when announcers do that. Just let the crowd do the work. We don't need to hear your diatribe that you planned 2 months ago for this big moment, because you know Nance does it sometimes. He wasn't ready for this one. It sounded like he was going to cry too. I hope someone helped him out after the game, because his voice started to crack at the end of after Jenkins hit that three. He usually has some sort of quirky thing, like when UConn won. Yes, UConn, and the Huskies are top dogs. It's Jesus Christ, come on. What was I talking about? All right, so Dick Vitale, the first thing he says after that, he lets it play out, and then he goes, "I think the officials got to look at it. The officials got to make sure it counts." You could see from the naked eye, from the beginning, that was fine. We all knew. We watched the replay, and it was closer than I thought, but I still knew. Yes, I knew. So Villanova wins. You like seeing that with no real stars on that team, no first-round picks. And Jay Wright gets his looking like a pimp, too. He was just like, yeah, that's right, we won. So Villanova, college basketball season ends. And Villanova Wildcats are the national champions. You like Philadelphia stuff? We're going to have a Philadelphia guest this week. So we'll get into maybe a little more about Villanova and the state of Philadelphia athletics, professional athletics. Because it's not pretty. It'll make you cry. Just the stench. So speaking of people who want attention, we were just talking about Bill Maher. Bomani Jones, who is he's a radio guy. He's a TV guy for ESPN. Always, I'm not a fan, but always, I give him credit, guys. Always a thought-provoking individual. Many times assimilating race into the conversation. There's nothing wrong with that. He thought that he was going to ruffle a lot of feathers. Maybe in some circles he did. I kind of judge Twitter based on the public, which is probably an awful thing to do just because there's so much fake outrage. But I didn't even see any fake outrage about this story. So here's the story. We've all known that there are certain teams in professional sports that have Native Americans, Indians, whatever way you want to call it. I realize Native American is the more politically correct term, but for this purpose, the purpose of this story, we will use the word Indians as well, as their mascots: Cleveland Indians, Atlanta Braves, the Washington Redskins. So what happened was Bomani Jones wore a shirt on one of his, I'm not really sure what the show was on ESPN. There's a lot of just terrible programming on during the day on ESPN, and it's sad that millions of people watch it, and that's their perception of sports and takes on sports, because I feel like everyone's brain, I think everyone cries inside anytime someone uses that as an analogy for an actual argument. I think we all cry a little bit. Bomani Jones said, well, he wore a shirt, and it had the Cleveland Indians mascot, but the face was lightened to that of a Caucasian, air quotes, blonde hair, and instead of it saying Cleveland, it said Caucasians in that sort of cursive writing, and on top of the head where the ponytail would be, sort of, there was a dollar sign. So I guess that was really supposed to offend. He said, if you find this offensive, imagine what Native Americans go through all the time. Now, ESPN told him, take the shirt off, but he had already been on, I believe, 45 minutes, half hour, wearing the shirt. Now, I like to file this in the same department as Nobody Cares. I like to file in that department right next to the fact that everyone hates Cam Newton because he's black. I think that there are double standards in sports in the way it's reported when it comes to race sometimes. I most certainly do. However, those are two stories that were meant to create drama when I don't think there was any drama. And it was kind of offensive as a fan to think that many people were offended just so you could push your agenda, your storyline of just garbage. So there you go. All right. We got that going. Redskins, I will always say, that is one. I always think it's kind of silly that we're going to change these. Redskins is one. Listen, that's a slur. If they want to remove that, I'm just sort of watching. Like, I'm not going to. I don't know how many actual tribes really find it that offensive. I think there's like one or two main ones that are the main voice. But I can understand where people are coming from in that sense. I really can. So, NFL news, not really much going on. How about, terrible Will Smith, former player for the New Orleans Saints, shot and killed in a road rage incident last week. Just actually a few days ago. What am I talking about? 34 years old. His wife was in the car, got bumped by a Hummer behind him. You'd have to assume some sort of argument began. Well, actually, I was listening on WFAN, and amid the Richard Gere calls about if one-hit wonders belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which was just spellbinding radio that I nearly drove off the road because it was just, well, it put me to sleep just because I loved it so much. But anyways, some guy called and actually said that, I wish NFL players took more, I wish they would stop focusing so much on the injuries and wrongful deaths they can get regarding concussions and start worrying more about how they conduct themselves in public. And then went on to accuse the now departed Will Smith for blaming him for the actual incident and getting himself killed. So there's Mongos like that, and there's Mongos like this.
Paul in Brooklyn, what's up, Paul?
Hello?
Yeah, Paul, what's up?
Hello?
All right, we're not waiting for Paul anymore. Budo in Queens, what's
as
up?
Annoying, Budo? Both of them. In their own special way, they're equally annoying. Staying in football, Josh Gordon. He's already suspended, but he failed another test. Good for him, dude. Talk about a guy. Come on, man. Come on. I don't want to be like, talk about a guy who threw it all away, but I mean, come on, he did. That's a guy who can't stay clean. He's obvious. That is a substance abuse issue. That's not like, shit, I got high, they caught me again. This guy is out of control. I don't think he'll ever play again. But Bruce Arians, Arizona Cardinals head coach, went at all the moms out there. All the moms, and, this is what he said. We feel like this is our sport, speaking of football. It's being attacked, and we got to stop it at the grassroots. It's the best game that's ever been fucking invented, and we got to make sure that moms get the message, because that's who's afraid of our game right now. It's not dads, it's moms. Arians went on, told the coaches that it's our job to make sure the game is safe at all levels, and the primary level has to be the head really has no business being in the game. I think Bruce Arians, and I think all of us need to understand that you better enjoy this game called the NFL, because it's going to change drastically in the next 20 years. And I don't blame Bruce Arians for defending his sport, but I think you also have to realize there is a lot of players retiring early, and it has nothing to do with moms. It has to do with their well-being, and if they can recite the alphabet at age 30-something, or if they know where they are, or if they can, get near bright lights, things of that nature, that concussions will rot your brain and make you a different person. He went on to clear up any misinterpretations, saying, just to be clear about kids playing football, my point is that moms are often the ones making these decisions in a family. We have to make sure they're getting the message about everything being done to make the game as safe as possible. They're the ones we have to influence. It's a great game, and it's even greater. It's played, coached, and taught the right way. Everybody involved with the sport has a responsibility to make that happen. Check is in the mail from Commissioner Roger Goodell. Boy, that's almost like out of a blueprint out of his ridiculous statements. That's like his podium. I mean, that's what he says there. Drinking my Bacardi again. Yeah. I'm trying to remain able to drink. I was going to say, remain an alcoholic. Yeah, you know how it goes. No, just remain, have a drink, but try to cut out the beer as much, Try to cut out the beer. I know, soon I'm going to be at the bar. Yeah, can I have the flavored vodka with a splash of crayon, please? Watching my weight. You like my tight shirt? No, I will never be that guy. Don't worry. I will never be that guy. Speaking, you know what? There's this commercial. I wrote about it, actually. I act as if it was just completely... This just came to me. You're such a liar, Brian. It was written down. This commercial that's been out for a while. It's been on, it's, I don't know, 4 or 5 months. It's Michelob Ultra commercial. Now, Michelob Ultra sucks. Let's be honest. It's a terrible beer. You can't even glorify it ironically glorify it like it's a piece of shit beer like High Life or the PBR staple of our shitty lives. And it's obviously not a craft beer, but it's this commercial. Let's see how it starts here. It starts with beautiful people waking up next to each other and they're living in these hip, new, modern apartments where they're very spacious, not a lot of stuff, but it's very cool. And it's obviously very expensive, way more than you make, and they're way more important, and they're way more beautiful. So they wake up. I mean, the sun's not even up, and they're just like, oh, God. Oh, man, boy, another day. I'm not going to hit that snooze button like I do several times a day, and I could just get into work on time, which I love that snooze button on my iPhone. No, they get up, they run all over the freaking city. They kickbox, they swim, they lift weights, they do everything. There's yoga, everything. Stuff that you won't do in 6 months. They're all doing it before you even get your ass out of bed, okay? So they're better than they're prettier than you. They exercise way earlier at the very least, and way more than you. And to top the night off, they're coming back, he's got the tie all undone, and he's going to this party that's lit by Christmas lights and everything. And he hoists this trophy of a 6-pack of Michelob Ultra to all of the adoring idiots at the party and just goes like this. Looks at it, everyone cheers as if Michelob Ultra. And it's all set to the tune of James Brown, Get On Up. So he's obviously more aware of music of all kinds, because how often do you listen to James Brown? You can't appreciate it, can you? So all of those things you fail at. So why not join us? They basically break you down. They're like, you know what? You suck at all that shit. Come join us. Hey, it's only 95 calories, 2.6 carbs. Come on, join the party. Join the party. Okay. That was my alcohol part of the show. I guess actually last night, good game. One of the highest rated regular season NBA games in a very long time. The Warriors, I was going to sound like Apu from The Simpsons. The Warriors of Golden State played the Spurs of San Antonio, Texas. The 9 Mets are my favorite team. But they played, and Golden State won, and they have tied the 95-96 Bulls record. I don't remember how much of a big deal it was back then. It was 15, 16. I mean, it sure is a big deal, but now you have every Tom, Dick, and Harry dating yourself with cliches like that. Tom, Dick, and Harry giving you an opinion on it. So it seems like it's it's an enormous deal. Don't get me wrong. And I know I'm like the 500th person to actually say this, but man, Steph Curry, he's great, but once he gets past that first defender on many cases, everyone just sort of watches. I hate to be this guy and do this, but imagine if he played in the 90s or the 80s. His ass would be thrown to the ground. Just seeing him prancing in there, and the shots, the guy is unreal. Some of those like turnaround floaters that they're like borderline hook shots that he's just like banking in. And they're not from like, they're from like past the key. I mean, past the free throw line. I mean, they're insane. The guy is truly amazing. And LeBron hates it. He absolutely hates it. He won't say it, but he hates it. But man, yeah, imagine him going to the lane. Charles Oakley, Anthony Mason. Charles Smith would try to hit him and keep missing. But, well, the NBA playoffs start soon. The Eastern regionals, the Eastern Conference is already all set. Looks like we're still waiting on a few with the West. But, yeah, the 7th and 8th spots still have not been... Oh, no, wait. They've all been eliminated, right? Okay, so that's just about, I guess, jockeying for position with the Mavericks and Jazz. So I guess we do really have them all set, but just worrying out 7 and 8 spot in the West. Golden State, 72-9. So at the very least, they are going to tie the record. I don't know who they play in their last game. They did lose they lost to the Timberwolves. Anything can happen, so... But I don't know do they play? I want to say they played Memphis their last game. I thought I remember reading that. Let's see. This will be quick. I'm sorry. This is what we do on the Red Ticket Blues. Are they playing tonight? No, they're not playing tonight. I didn't think they were. They're playing tomorrow, and they're not playing tomorrow. They're playing Wednesday. And, this is the playoffs. No, it's not. They're playing Memphis, 10:30 on Wednesday to see for the big record. I will not be staying up for that, 10:30 at night. That is way past my bedtime. I'll look for, vines, Jordan Spieth highlights on Twitter. That's how I view things. And finally, I guess we'll end it with this. I probably should have talked about this in the baseball section. But Nick Swisher, our friend Nick Swishalicious, oh God, that sensitive bro that he is. He signed a minor league contract with the Yankees. Yes, a minor league contract. That can mean nothing. Who knows? He's a bro.
I sure do hope so, bro.
Dude, bro's harder than any bro you could possibly imagine. I used to like Swisher. I really did. I know a lot of people don't like his thing, his whole shtick, his routine, but I used to like it when he got into it. It was great, but when he went against the fans, when he is arguably the worst postseason player ever, batting 165 in 47 games, so 185 plate appearances, Nick Swisher has 26 hits in the playoffs, an OPS under 600. And when the Yankee fans booed him and he said, "I'm sensitive, bro, I don't need that," goodbye. He's making $15 million based on the Braves and the Indians who have cut him right now. So he's just signing a minor league. He's broing it up. He's brostein. He's just broing it, bro. I really hope he doesn't make the team. That sounds mean. No, it doesn't. Who cares? He's a millionaire. He'll be fine. He'll be fine, just like all the players playing in the snow. Get over it. Actually, the people complaining are the fans more so than anyone. So I think that's it for tonight. This is the podcast. Do I have anything else I want to talk about? Let's say McDonald's Monopoly game. Whatever. I never won. Does anyone win? I guess that's the only thing I was going to say. All right, that's it. So remember, you can listen to this show. Hey, remember, I have another podcast this week. We have like I said, a media guest from the city of Philadelphia. I would not give any details. You'll have to check in to see what it's all about, right? Shut up. All right, remember, you can always listen to the show on iTunes, TuneIn, Radio, Stitcher, YouTube, and follow me on Twitter at BrianBuck13. And like the show on Facebook, huh? Are you a Facebook guy? Come on. It was National Sibling Day the other day, National Beer Day, National Everything Day. I'm sure they're just making up days so people can post shit on Facebook. Remember to review the podcast on your favorite podcasting venue and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. You don't have to worry, shit, has Brian done another podcast lately? I haven't heard anything. Well, you subscribe and it goes right to your phone, to your computer, to your tablet, anything you're using. Your Fitbit. I don't know if that's true. But I hope everyone has a great rest of your whatever day you're listening to this, and check out the podcasts in the past and podcasts in the future. And with all that being said, I'm out of here.